So filmmaker Michael Moore was on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Now, I'm going to show you 3 clips here, and they're good clips to work with because the first clip, Michael Moore makes a good point. The second clip, Mika Brzezinski makes a good point, and Michael Moore makes a good point. And the third clip is a really dumbass question from an MSNBC contributor. So it's really a full spectrum of what MSNBC has to offer, and also in terms of Michael Moore as one of the few people, one of the few known names, the few celebrities that actually understands why the Democrats are losing and what they need to do to actually improve and win again. So let's watch the first clip.
It's not just her. It's like I said, it's 6 out of the last 7 that we've won the popular vote. So the American public is liberal on the issues, right? The majority of Americans believe women should be paid the same as men, are pro-choice. They believe that there's climate change. Go down the whole list. Americans on the they won't call themselves liberals, but on the issues, they're liberal.
Now, I love hearing Michael Moore make this point because this is a point that's never made on cable news. Cable news always talks about how the American people are center-right. It's a center-right country. Because what they do, what mainstream media normally does, is they look at polling and how people self-identify. So a lot of people self-identify as center or center-right. But when you actually look down at the issues, issue by issue, the majority of people are liberal. And in fact, the only policy that they're not a majority of people are liberal on is the death penalty, which honestly I find kind of odd that that is the one issue that more people are conservative. But for the most part, all the other issues, people are liberal. And I'm glad Michael Moore points this out, and I'm kind of surprised that Joe Scarborough didn't jump in and was like, wait a second, no, everyone here is, we're all conservatives. Because Joe Scarborough is somebody who brings in that establishment thinking, who brings in that idea that everybody, or not everybody, but the majority of the country is right or center right. And Joe always pushes the idea that Democrats need to run center or center-right candidates because that's how they're going to win. Without realizing that's all the Democratic Party has been doing over the last 8 years, and they continue to lose elections. So anyways, I'm glad Michael Moore pointed this out, and let's get to the next clip.
And you said you got to run candidates who can win. They tried to run a candidate in Georgia. You can't run a candidate. A candidate needs to step up. It needs to be within him or her. It needs to be the person that is the leader that steps up and people follow. And I just feel like they're trying to create constructs instead of discover talent.
That is so true. And there have been studies to show that when Democrats try to sound like Republicans, locally especially, when they move to the middle or to the right, they lose. When they actually run as Democrats and run on the liberal issues that the majority of Americans agree with them, they win. But there's something about Democrats, they just feel, well, the only way we can win, we have to appeal to those Trump voters or whatever. Right. Well, who we have to appeal to there are 8 million Obama voters that voted for Trump. We can win some of those back. Remember, I come from a state where Hillary lost by 2 votes per precinct. That's all she lost by, those 10,000 votes. Right. We can do this. We can get those people back. But it has to be a real concerted effort. And people cannot in Michigan and Wisconsin be waiting around for the Democratic Party in Washington they're not going to ride in on the white horse and save them.
So at the beginning of that clip, I think Mika Brzezinski makes a fantastic point. The Democrats can't just run people. They can't just, tidy somebody up, get somebody young looking, and then throw them out there in an election like the one where they had Jon Ossoff go up against Karen Handel. Now, Jon Ossoff was that typical centrist Democrat, and that strategy didn't work because what Democrats actually have to do is they have to bring out new voters. So everyone is always so focused and concerned about the existing voters. How are the existing voters voting? So they look at Georgia. Oh, everybody, the way they vote is they all vote conservative. Well, yeah, because you keep running conservative candidates on both the left and the right. If you have an actual progressive out there, you might actually get some new people coming out to these state elections and actually possibly be able to elect an actual Democrat, somebody who's an actual progressive. But if you keep running these center-right candidates as a Democrat, even if you win, even if the Democrat wins that seat, who cares? What? It doesn't, like, why would you want a candidate who is just a Republican disguised as a Democrat? Like, what does that accomplish? So this is why the Democrats would be smart on two levels to run an actual progressive, because one, they might actually win and bring out new voters, and two, they'll actually be a Democrat. They'll actually be a liberal, a progressive, somebody who is actually liberal on the issues as the majority of the people in the country are. And that goes into Michael Moore's point, where there's studies that look into when Democrats actually run as liberals, they have a better chance of winning. And I know it sounds crazy. Oh my God, Democrats running as a liberal? Wow, it's amazing that is actually a strategy. That isn't just, how things should be anyways. But no, Democrats are not running liberals. And if they do, they can actually win. Now, let's go to the last clip.
Okay, so you said earlier that this is actually a left country, a progressive country. Mm-hmm. So if America is a progressive country, how are Democrats shut out at every level of government? They control nothing, as you said.
Right.
How can it's not really possible in terms of basic retail politics. If the country agrees with you, you can't get elected.
So Nick comes in here at the end with this dumbass question. Was he under the table the whole time? Did he not understand what conversation had just gone on? Michael Moore was talking about how Democrats need to actually run progressives. They need to actually run candidates that are actually as liberal as the people are on the issues. And then they may actually win. That's what Nick doesn't understand. He's thinking that Democrats are losing running as liberals. But that's the problem. The Democrats are not running as liberal. And they're losing. And that's why they're losing. Because there is a large contingent in the country that are actually liberal and have no one to vote for. And you wonder why Democrats keep losing. So Nick here represents the typical thinking. And I'm actually impressed by Mika and Joe for not talking, and Michael Moore here for really understanding what the Democratic Party's problem is. But Nick is a guy here who this is what the establishment thinking is. That Democrats keep losing because they're running as liberals. But they're not running as liberals. There is no real actual progressive party in the country. I mean, the Green Party, but in terms of the two parties, the two major parties, the ones that actually get to participate in the debates and are actually part of the process, there is no liberal or progressive party. You have a center or center-right party in the Democrats and a far-right, almost fascist party with the Republicans. So if you actually have a party that actually represents this entire half of the country that isn't being talked to, then you know what? You might actually win. You might actually be surprised that actually being a Democrat, actually being progressive on the issues, might actually hand you real wins. Hey folks, so the YouTube ad money for shows that question the status quo is abysmal. So if you want to help me out, consider throwing me a few bucks on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/therationalnational. There is a link below the video and somewhere on the screen right about now.